Hello and welcome to Views on News. I am Jawad Tehami. In a major blow to its politics of hate, discrimination and violence, the Bharatiya Janata Party led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi had a defeat in the Karnataka state polls. Now, Indian National Congress has secured 135 seats of 224 seats in the legislative assembly elections. Well, when we talk about Bharatiya Janata Party, it managed to secure only 66 seats out of 224 seats. When we specifically talk about the previous elections that were held in 2018, Bharatiya Janata Party had secured 104 seats. Now, this particular state, Karnataka state, is that particular state in which the Bharatiya Janata Party government has specifically targeted Muslims by passing anti-Muslim laws, especially when we talk about the hijab ban, as well as the scrapping of the 40% quota of the government employment, as well as the quota in the educational institutions. Now, the Congress leader and the former chief minister of this particular state, Mr. Siddaramaiah, says, let me quote, "It is a victory of a secular party. The people of Karnataka don't tolerate communal politics," unquote. Now, there have also been allegations of corruption on the BJP government in this particular state. The opposition has termed the BJP government in this particular state as 40% Sarkar as well. Now, this is the second state within 6 months in which Bharatiya Janata Party has lost the state elections. In December, in Himachal Pradesh, Congress got 40 of 68 seats, while the BJP managed to secure only 25 seats. Now, in another major development, we have seen thousands of people rallying in adjacent state to Karnataka, that is Kerala, in which the chief minister of the state also participated. And this particular rally was against rising Islamophobia, the discrimination against Muslims in particular. Now, the chief minister of the state blamed the Sangh Parivar or the RSS family for distorting the image of Kerala state through false narrative and employing fascist tactics to propagate lies. Now, when we specifically talk about this defeat of Bharatiya Janata Party against the Indian National Congress, how bigger a setback for Bharatiya Janata Party as well as its Prime Minister Narendra Modi it is, and how the opposition can capitalize on this particular victory to have more victories in other state elections, as well as the national elections which are to be held in April and May in 2024. And will this particular defeat of Bharatiya Janata Party really impact the national polls that would be held in 2024? To talk about this, we are honored to have been joined in the studio by Brigadier retired Shahid Jagir, his senior analyst. Brigadier Jagir, thank you very much for taking time out for Views on News tonight. We really appreciate that. We are also being joined by Muhammad Ahmad. He is a researcher associated with India Study Center at the Institute of Strategic Studies in Islamabad. Ahmad, thank you very much for your time, also for being with us on Views on News tonight. Really appreciate that. Later in the show, we'll be joined with another participant. I'll be introducing him later there. And then let me begin the discussion with you, Brigadier Jagir. Was it a writing on the wall, this defeat for Bharatiya Janata Party, or was it a kind of a surprise?
Thank you very much. First of all, my compliments to you for a very nice introduction. You have covered almost all the things, the whole topic you have covered in a very brief terms. But this Dovata is getting a problem for the BJP. As you have very rightly said, that there are about over 14% Muslim population in Karnataka, and in the last couple of years, what the BJP government has done over there in terms of rules, laws and order, especially targeting the Muslim, as you have highlighted, their quota in the jobs, their education system for the Muslims, hijab, not allowing the people mosques which are near to the temples to have the loudspeaker, the call for prayer, not allowing the Muslim businessmen near the temples to do their business over there, false flagging the love for jihad terminology over there. I think this was expected. If not writing on the wall, it was very much being expected, because the people over there are frustrated, in particular, because India call itself, although on the face value of it, they call themselves as the secular states, but their other phase, which is the Hinduvata phase, and has been rightly said by the BJP ministers over there, that it is because of the activities of Sangh Parivar or the RSS which is over there. So, this is keeping these environments in mind. I think people have taken a very broad view about the thing, and they want, and as you have said, one of the Congress leader has said that it is a victory for the secularism. So, that means they are very much conscious of the fact that the radicalization of this RSS in the community of India is going to bring bad name for the country. One. Second, it will not be good for the people, for the citizens of India, because over the decades, India had been a home of many religion and many sects as it is. But unfortunately, from the time the Modi came in power as a chief minister of Gujarat and later on as a prime minister of India, he has given the fuel to the fire of Hindutva, and has officially backed them. As you see in the last program on Kashmir, we were discussing that they are arming the village defense committees which comprise of Hindus, whereas the same treatment is not being given to the village defense committees comprising of Muslims. So, this is going to lead to a very bad situation in India, which is a very big country in the South Asia, and the mood and mind will of the people, if we take this lead for this Karnataka elections, are changing. That's a very good omen. And what happens in 2024 general elections?
I'll come to this particular point to get your detailed view on this particular thing. What sort of an impact do you think is going to have on the national polls that are to be held in 2024? Let me bring in Ahmad into the discussion also. Ahmad, what's your understanding of the whole situation, specifically when you talk about these Karnataka polls? Do you think it's surprising defeat for Bharatiya Janata Party, or was it expected?
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. Since 2014, when this BJP government came into power, they have been capitalizing or cashing this ultra-nationalism, I would say, that is being called as Hindutva. And this has been rooted so much in Indian society that Muslims are being discriminated, backed by the state militants, I would say. But I would slightly disagree with Brigadier Saab when he said that the BJP defeat was expected. To my understanding, the whole BJP was carrying in all across India. It is still carrying. It wasn't expected at all that BJP would lose in Karnataka, because Karnataka is considered as a major, I would say, power state when it comes to either legislative assembly or Lok Sabha elections that is coming in 2024. Even when we look into the polls that are being shared by the local outlets and even Zee News, they slightly disagree with each other. Zee News prefers that BJP will be coming into power again. But obviously, there are some local factors as well as you had mentioned, that this Muslim factor also, because Indian people now have realized that BJP policies have, you can say, done a lot of damage to them than bringing benefits to them. Although there are economic benefits, as it has replaced UK as the 5th largest economy recently, but these economic benefits are not being given to the at the local level. So we can say that the local of the Karnataka state have realized that now it's time to change.
So,
And
so how, Ahmad, you disagreed with Brigadier Jagir that it was not expected. What was expected, despite the kind of moves which were made by Bharatiya Janata Party government over there, and there have been allegations of corruption over there? Was there any expectation? And there were reports of infighting within the ranks of Bharatiya Janata Party over there also. So why wasn't it expected?
Well, I see in this way that if we look into the Muslim, as you mentioned, that this hijab ban took place, that hijab ban took place in the I would say southern states, and in these states Muslim population is not that much high. So we can't only consider this hijab factor behind BJP's defeat. Obviously, there are, as you said, this 40
there were a lot of
PCM,
videos, and especially of that girl in that college who raised those slogans, and she faced the saffron goons also in the college also. That went quite viral, and hijab ban took quite traction over the social media in this particular state. Let me go back to Brigadier Jagir. How bigger do you think it is a setback? Of course, you have put forth a number of factors being the reason for this particular defeat of Bharatiya Janata Party. How bigger do you think it's going to be a defeat for Bharatiya Janata Party?
It's apparently at the moment, though not seems to be, but it will have its very serious repercussions for BJP. One, the other states where the Hinduvata ideology, corruption, lawlessness, highlighting or propagating the RSS ideology and people, it will go as a negative in the eyes of the people of the India. Second, taking the lead from this, people will definitely reconsider that if Karnataka can become, can fight back the Hinduvata ideology, and especially the 13 and 40%, I will have my reservation. The 13-14% population of Muslim is not a small percentage of population. It's quite a big when you talk of, and you see this time they have, the Congress has won over 50% of the seats, more than 50% of the seats. Now, that is a big thing. Winning by a very close context, one would have considered that the mood of the people would have changed at the last moment. But winning by this big a margin gives you a very, very clear indication of the future perspectives. Second, Modi has not visited Karnataka during the elections or prior to the elections. That's also one of the factors which was taken, that one, that the people are being, as you have said, the 40% government, corruption and all that. And they say that in all the government tenders, 40% is goes to the concerned politicians. So, if that's the thing, that has added a fuel to the fire. So, I don't think that this will go as a normal
So do you think this
activity.
is a pattern being developed that we see? This is the second such state in which Bharatiya Janata Party has lost
Yes.
the polls within 6 months. Now, back in December, it lost in Himachal Pradesh also. So is it a pattern being developed? We see such pattern to continue in future also.
Yes. People seems to be fed up from this. What all is happening? You know, corruption, lawlessness, violence. Although the geopolitical environment has given an impetus to the role of India in the world politics, but it is not because of Indian good governance. Let me tell you very clearly, it is because of the environment which are prevailing. It is because of the China-US economic rivalry. It is because of the Russian-US rivalry and the importance of Indian Ocean as far as Quad is concerned. So, Modi can cash on to that, but as far as the local individual is concerned, the poverty line has gone up in India. Although there are tycoons, money tycoons there in India, but the people are still living in the slums and are homeless in the Indian government. And how can the governance can be better if 40% of the development project, which is 40% is taken away
As a bribe.
What you can expect?
Right. Brigadier Jagir, we are joined by another participant in the show on the phone line. We are also have been joined by Mr. Kamran. Yousaf, he's senior journalist. Mr. Yousaf, thank you very much for taking time out for views on news tonight. Really appreciate that. Now, the defeat for Bharatiya Janata Party in Karnataka Legislative Assembly polls, how bigger a setback do you think it is for BJP, and what prime factors do you associate with this particular defeat?
I think it's a major defeat because Karnataka was the only state in the South India which was under BJP control, and losing this election means that now BJP has no presence in entire South. So that is, of course, a big thing. And second, of course, it's a comeback for Congress. If you recall the history, since 1985, this was for the first time that a single party got the majority, because earlier no single party got the majority. They had to form coalition government or bring in smaller parties. So that itself is a big achievement. I think the major factor was, of course, like any other part of the world, the economy was the major factor. Lack of development was the major factor, and also probably, BJP that used to play that communal card, they also tried to play that communal card in Karnataka, but that did not work. So these were the major factors, that contributed to the defeat of BJP.
So, Mr. Yousaf, how much do you think this particular promise by Congress that if it wins the elections in this particular state, it is going to ban Bajrang Dal, how this particular factor is added to this particular victory of Congress?
Although BJP tried to, play this card because they link it with, their Hindutva ideology that looked at Congress was trying to, ban, Bajrang Dal, but, that did not work. So given that now that they have won the election, and certainly, they will have to prove that. And also, given the fact that one major factor that in this Karnataka election, Congress has given tickets to 15 Muslim MPs, and 13 of them have won that election. So that is also a kind of a big change, and is also in a way a rejection of BJP's divisive policy, communal policy. So, that is something that many commentators in India also believe can have impact on, the general elections that are due early next year in India.
Right. So, what do you think? What particular things the Congress should capitalize on, and how do you think how morale boosting this particular victory for Congress would be for them contesting the elections in other states also, and when it comes to the national polls in 2024?
I think it is certainly a morale boosting for Congress, because you know that it was simply routed in last couple of general elections, the way BJP first came to power in 2014, and then they were given thumping majority again by the Indian voters in 2019. So certainly this state election victory is kind of a message that Congress can still make a comeback. But having said that, still, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi overall in India is still popular. The bigger test, before the next year's early election, before the general elections early next year, we still have, state elections coming up in Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Telangana. So that would also be a big test for Congress. If they perform well, even in those states, then certainly it will, give a huge boost to their chances in the general elections. But still, I think they have to prove a lot, given the fact that BJP and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi still popular nationally. So it is a big challenge for Rahul Gandhi, to give a big challenge to Narendra Modi.
Right. Mr. Yousaf, when we talk about the election campaign of the two, the Bharatiya Janata Party and the Congress, what major differences do you see in the campaign of the two?
I think the major difference between the two is that Congress has, they portrayed themselves as a, secular party. They call for, a communal harmony. And that is the message that they are carrying. As I pointed out, that in this Karnataka election, while BJP has not given ticket to any Muslim politician, on the other hand, Congress has given tickets to 15 Muslim politicians. So the major difference is, their approach. Congress still believes in, the secular idea of India, while BJP, on the other hand, is really thriving on, the communal politics. They, bank on, dividing, the community, and they try to play this communal card. So this is the major difference. And the important thing is that at least in Karnataka, the electorate have rejected the politics of hate. And Rahul Gandhi, in fact, after, the victory, he did say that this election shows that people of Karnataka have shut down the markets of hate and opened the shops of love. So this is, I think, the major difference between the BJP and the Congress.
Right, Mr. Yousaf, we have seen this is the second state within 6 months the Bharatiya Janata Party has lost to Congress. In December, we saw it lost the Legislative Assembly elections in Himachal Pradesh. Also now Karnataka. Do we see a certain pattern developing of Bharatiya Janata Party losing in various states, and how it is going to impact the national polls? When we talk particularly of Karnataka, it has got 28 seats in the Lok Sabha when it comes to the national polls. So how crucial this particular state is going to be for the national polls also?
It is indeed crucial, but as I said, that still it is too early to say that how much bigger impact this will have on the national election of India. India is a huge country. In South, it is always said that communal politics never work. But the real, challenge will be for Congress in the North, where, the Hindutva card, even the anti-Pakistan card, even the communal card, really work. That's where the real challenge lies. But certainly, if, Congress capitalizes on this, they can certainly, put up a huge challenge. And also don't forget that this is the second term of BJP and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. And, the incumbency factor also played a part. So these are the factors that can play a huge role. But I have to say that still it's a huge challenge to, sustain that momentum. And, for example, the coming elections in Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, and a couple of other states, if Congress really performs well, then I think it will set a stage for a real battle between Congress and BJP in the national elections early next year.
Right, Mr. Yousaf, one last question. There is another development. A UN independent expert has raised questions about India organizing a G20 meeting in Srinagar, which we of course know is going to happen from May the 22nd to 24. Now India has responded to this one. They have rejected the remarks and accused him of acting irresponsibly. How do you see that?
I think, India, Kashmir, of course, is a disputed territory, but as you know, at the moment, India has a presidency of G20 and, of course, also SCO. And, it has planned certain events, G20 events, and few events will take place in Srinagar. So what India is trying to do, India is trying to portray that everything is normal in Indian-occupied Kashmir, and that is the very idea. But of course, that Pakistan does not agree with that, and I believe that apart from what the assessment or the reaction from the UN that you talked about, Pakistan has also launched diplomatic offensive ever since India announced its intention to hold certain G20 events in occupied Kashmir, and officials in Pakistan say that even some of the G20 members, the European members, were quite receptive to Pakistan's concerns, and they are considering whether to attend those meetings in Indian-occupied Kashmir. But of course, that this is an attempt by India to portray that everything is okay, everything is normal in Kashmir. But of course, that this cannot change the reality, no matter what India
so Mr. Yousaf,
tries to portray.
isn't this criticism by a UN special expert, independent expert, a huge setback on this particular claim of Indian administration that everything is normal in the occupied territory?
Indeed, I think this questions India's claim, but whether this will force India to change its plan, that remains to be seen, because we also have to take into account that how in recent years the big countries, the Western countries, because their economic interests and strategic interests are aligned with India, so usually, they ignore, criticism against India. They ignore their divisive policies, their human rights, record in occupied Kashmir or elsewhere. So this is also, on one hand, you talk about this, UN expert assessment, rejecting India's move to hold a G20 event in Srinagar. But on the other hand, there is a real politics, international politics, that is out to play. So, it's a kind of a challenge for us in that scenario, because certain countries, they do not follow, the principles or high moral grounds when they look for their own, interests. Nevertheless,
as enshrined in the UN Charter and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Mr. Kamran, Yousaf, senior journalist, thank you very much for joining us at Views on News tonight. Really appreciate that. Now, Brigadier Jagir, when we talk about its impact on the national polls, which are to be held in 2024, as you were already mentioning, how is it going to be impacted, the national polls that would be held in 2024 by these?
I look at this from the point of view of changing wind. As my previous commentator or colleague on the panel was also discussing, that although it might look at this moment that it's not a big change which has come up, but it's a warning for the change. The coming elections, state elections in other states of India will definitely give solid wind change directions. But at the moment, it also, this defeat of BJP has given a very high moral value for the Congress, who rightly talk about for a secular India. Although how secular India will go become after a change in their politics to come in 2024, but at the moment at least they raise the slogan, that slogan.
We have also seen Mr. Rahul Gandhi coming under the wrath of Bharatiya Janata Party, is being victimized. Do you think this has worked in favor of Congress rather in favor of Bharatiya Janata Party? This policy had been counterproductive for Bharatiya Janata Party.
Yes, of
and
course.
it at the same time shows how strongly footed on the ground of the leadership at the local level of Congress is as compared to Bharatiya Janata Party.
Obviously, the Modi, after having taken over the BJP, has really gave the religious color to the BJP agenda, which was not with the Congress. And somehow after this Gujarat incident and other 2-3 incidents, now they have gone to the extent that they want to see the laws to be changed of the states, where the Hindus are given the preference and Muslims, Christians, Sikhs, they are being treated as nobody in India. Our last discussion on the justice for Sikhs movement, elections in Australia, which the Modi government has hijacked, and they cut off their communication and Wi-Fi and all that. So all these factors in wholesome gives the ideology and the mindset of the BJP, which is detrimental to the Indian economy.
To the social fabric also.
And yes, you are right. And also why India is being looked the other way as far as the human rights and other things are concerned, religious fanaticism and all. What my friend has talked about previously, it is because of the geopolitics. It is because the West and the US and the West wants to compete with China. They want a balancing act of the India against China. So that is why they are. It is not that they don't know. As you were talking about, is that the UN has started raising the voice of holding the G20 meeting in Kashmir. Now, how can they organize on the Kashmir 5th May? We discussed this thing, that how can they organize an international event, and how can they invite the heads of the state of 20 big economies to a place which is disputed, one which is on the UN charter for the dispute. How can they organize it? And just by revoking the law, they can say the people that everything is calm and cool. Well, it's not. The people do have insight. No, it's not we, the people in the
come
UN,
to this,
people in the
a particular point, the kind of statement that has been given by an independent UN expert regarding this holding of G20 moot in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Let me proceed towards Ahmad once again also. Ahmad, now when we talk about the Indian position as far as geopolitics is concerned, and the kind of defeat it has got in Karnataka, so that clearly speaks volumes about that the national mood that is developing against the Hindutva ideology, or against the card which the Bharatiya Janata Party had been playing since it came into power back in 2014, it's not working in tandem with what India's position internationally as far as geopolitics is concerned happens to be.
No, I'm sorry, I'm unable to.
The national mood that is developing right now among the Indians isn't working in tandem for BJP for its position on the international front as far as geopolitics is concerned.
When I look the situation as when it comes to the international politics, the whole India is united. I don't see in any future coming that at any international dispute, either it's India against Pakistan or India against China, when it comes to geopolitics or international rivalry, the whole India gets united and support its government claims. We have seen that the mood is being changed at the local level, that even Hindus are considering that this Hindutva should be stopped now. But we don't see anything coming against BJP's policies in Kashmir. We don't see anything coming against this G20 summit. But obviously, that's quite illegal what India is doing. And as Yousaf Saab has also mentioned, that all the support it is getting is just because of the geopolitical interest of America. The day there would come any divergence in the
exactly,
interest.
that is the point. Brigadier Jagir, it is the national mood which is developing against Hindutva ideology that isn't working in tandem with India's position, primarily of Bharatiya Janata Party, of being on the side of the US as far as geopolitics is concerned. So both the things are working in contrast. So how detrimental it is going to be for overall outlook of Indian social fabric, its economy and political standing also?
No, that's what I say, that the wind of change. That means that the people have some other ambitions and the leaders have some other ambitions, you know. That is the thing which will ultimately become a problem for Indian leadership. Do they want to live happily, and do they want to go for the development of their people with the budget which they have? Do they want to stop the corruption? Do they want to bring the law and order? And do they want the people of the Mumbai and big cities which are living in the slums and do not have the toilets even? Is that important for the leaders of India? Or the Hindutva is important for the leader of India? That is their choice. And people have started, look, we always think that the voter is an uneducated and he doesn't know his rights. They very much know their rights. That's the beauty of the democracy. But when you exploit them, as the Indian leadership is now exploiting the people on the name of this radicalization of Hindutva ideology, that is going to become problematic for the BJP in the time to come.
Right. Now, when we talk about one related question to the elections, the last one, when we come to Karnataka states, one of the top 10 states happens to be at number 7 when it comes to its seats in the National Assembly or the Lok Sabha, the lower house of the parliament, has 28 seats. Now, this particular mood which has already been set here during this legislative assembly elections, do you think this particular thing is going to be manifested in national polls when it comes to Karnataka in particular? And these 28 seats, are they going to make a huge difference as far as BJP standing in overall national polls is concerned?
Well, I think still it is not clear, but let the elections in Rajasthan and other states come. What is the outcome of that? So that will tell you the changing tide. But definitely, as I said earlier, it's a wind of change. And people,
what should the Congress in particular focus on in other states in particular in order to defeat BJP?
They should concentrate on anti-Hindutva policies. They should concentrate on the corruption. They should concentrate on the law and order, and they should propagate that they are the one who are looking for a secular India. That is the one where the Muslims, the Sikhs, the Christians, the other minority will feel at least,
and they might be the party
the face value
which might be representing the true sentiment of Indians at the international level as well.
Absolutely.
Okay, so when we talk about this criticism by the independent UN expert, he's also highlighted the human rights violations being carried out after the revocation of Article 370 in IIOJK. He's also asserted that there were demographic changes which were being carried out. Is raised an arm regarding India holding this particular. How bigger is this particular thing a setback, this criticism by an independent US expert when it comes to India trying to build a narrative that there is normalcy, especially in terms of development after the revocation of Article 370?
No, it is very important. The UN has raised the alarms on the human rights violation. The UN Human Rights Watch has, if you read their reports, have really talked about in black and white that there have been the mass graves which are there. People are kidnapped, the powers which their law enforcement agencies which have in the Kashmir is nowhere anywhere else.
India has categorically rejected this one, accusing the independent expert of being irresponsible. Do you think that is what is expected of Indian authorities? They would definitely come up with such type of response, very much expected of them. Is this criticism going to have any impact on the understanding of the G20 members in particular, that they might refuse in order to participate in this particular meeting?
I really can't predict that they will refuse, but this will definitely go very strongly. This message will definitely go very strongly to the G20's people. At least the people will understand. If the leaders of them will go for to India,
they would be
just to please.
They would be complicit in the human rights violations which are being perpetrated by Indian authorities and its troops in IIOJK. Brigadier retired Jagir, senior analyst, thank you very much for being with us on Views on News tonight. We really appreciate that. We were also joined by Mr. Ahmad, associated with India Studies Center at Institute of Strategic Studies in Islamabad. Thank you very much for your time, Ahmad, also. We really appreciate that. With that, we come to the end of today's show. Till the next one, take good care of yourselves.